where everyone is healthy. Ah, wow. That'll be a heaven on earth society because it is individuals that lead marriage. So if they're healthy, we're going to have healthy marriages or relationships and healthy society. People will not be dying in the hand of relationship. People will not be having hunger for love because people are healthy who will meet this need. Today, we want to go back again and unpack 4 areas of human desires, deep human desires, and then we also look at maybe 3 desires that people crave for and are thirsty for. Again, what are you really thirsty for? What is your deep desire? Let's begin from the deep desire number 1. The deep desire number 1 is emotional desire. And you have deep desire to be heard and be known. People want to be listened to. People want to be heard. People want to communicate and be understood. The second deep desire under emotion is deep desire to be affirmed. People would love to be affirmed for what they do. They want to be told that they did a great job. Here, your desire is the desire to hear that your behavior or your action was a good job. Is a desire, is an emotional desire, legitimate emotional desire. So don't feel bad that you desire that. And then the third emotional desire is the desire to be praised for who you are. This is not for your behavior or for your action. Be praised for being you. Be praised for your identity. And you also hear that many people cannot fathom that they did not do anything to earn God's love, because everything that I've ever done, each time they were loved, is because they worked so hard to get that love met. So they do not believe that God's love is free. They believe that it must be based on their behavior or performance. Please, God loves you because you are his child, not because of anything you do or you did not do. And then I'm now going to show you false fulfillment of these deep desires. In the previous episode, you may need to check it. I said when a desire is not met, when what you're hungry and thirsty, what you hunger and thirst for is not available, you use false substitutes. Just like if you are stranded in the desert, anything that is liquid they give you, including your own urine, you will drink them because you want to quench a thirst. Same way when you are looking for water, you are thirsty. If you can drink anything, but it has to be water. If it's not water, you will keep desiring for it. So what are the false desires that goes with this? The deep desire to be heard. When you're not feeling heard and understood, you will try to use different varieties, different ways to get someone to meet that need. For instance, you will raise your voice when you're talking. When you're talking with your spouse and you think your spouse is not hearing you, you'll start shouting and screaming. I'm just saying, why are you shouting? Why are you shouting? You're trying to meet a need. The second one, that you'll talk continuously because you want to be heard. The third one is you throw temper tantrums. You are actually begging to be heard. What is the solution in this place? Please just simply ask your spouse to listen when it has to do with the desire to be heard, to communicate. The second deep desire that has to do with to be affirmed. What is the false substitute? The false substitute that exists is you start looking for what you would do to bring affirmation to yourself. Sometimes you start looking for maybe a role to come into, maybe a particular expensive car or a status or power you're going to grab onto yourself because you think that this will bring affirmation. At last, people will look at it and affirm you. You desire and lust for one particular luxurious car because you feel that it's only people who are worthy of affirmation, who are successful, use that car. Even if you have to kill yourself, run yourself out, be miserable, you do anything to get that desire met. Because there is a big need for affirmation, there's a big need to be met, that needs to be met. So let me ask you now, what are you doing to bring affirmation to yourself? There are many people who have not come into their life purpose, who are running from their life purpose because they feel that that area does not have deep affirmation. People are not affirmed, people are not, as it were, praised when they get into that area. Then the third false one is the need to be praised. That's where narcissism comes in. That's where narcissism comes in. You start praising yourself. What's the root cause? Is a deep longing to be praised. You felt that you didn't get enough praise, so you act in a way, you can even act in a false way to show that you talk about your achievement, you talk about your accomplishment. You're trying to get everyone convinced, everyone around you, to see how wonderful you are so that they can praise you. What should you do? What is the solution? Please just give these people affirmation. Let them know that don't be stingy with affirmation. Just let the person know you're too much, you're great, you're powerful. That's the answer to that. And for the one that has to do with the need to be affirmed, the need to be heard, the need to be affirmed, the need to be praised. And for people who are dealing with the need to be affirmed, please consider what they have done. Consider it significant. Consider it very valuable. Let's move forward to the second need. The second need has to do with the need to be safe. All of us need to, you need to have a mindset that says God is in charge. No matter what comes out of it, no matter what may come my way, God is in charge. I have food to eat. I have shelter over my head. The world is, everything is right with the world. My anxiety and it's about how my future will be is turned around by knowing that you are safe. You see, sometimes when a woman is shouting when the husband is driving, she's not actually trying to push her husband down. All she's trying to say is that I'm feeling afraid. She's trying to say, I'm not feeling safe. Sometimes we see when a man is misbehaving in marriage, and all the man is trying to say is that I don't feel respected. I don't feel honored in this home. So we must understand that when those needs arise, be very discerning, be very creative to be able to know that someone is crying for attention, not that the person really need to quarrel. So how do you solve this need? How do people go about false substitutes that people go to solve the need of being safe? You know what they do? They start looking for anything that symbolizes safety in their lives, and then they hold on to it. They start looking for something that is right. Let's take something like obsession for cleanliness and order. You find out that maybe the front of your house is dirty, is not in order, and you want it to be put in order. When your neighbors pass, they will see that this Victoria is a very, very somehow person. This person is too much. It brings that kind of thing brings a sense of accomplishment inside you. Some people have, when it has to do with being cautious, it's almost an idol. So when you see these things happening, it's not because the person is weird. The person is shouting, I want to be safe, I want to be safe, I want to be safe. You need to realize that safety is in God. I remember when COVID-19 broke loose, some people lost their mind because of the fear. What's going to happen to me? What's going to happen to my children? What's going to happen to my business? I've not been to work for about 1 month. How am I going to survive? All that hunger for safety. The solution is for you to realize that safety can only be found in Christ Jesus. So these things I'm pulling out. The reason I'm pulling them out is that it has effect in your marriage. The moment you pick up a false substitute to solve emotional problems, it can degenerate into anything. It can degenerate into addiction. It can degenerate into anxiety and tension in the marriage, so that even when both of you are talking, you can't diffuse tension. Your emotional intelligence will not be activated. You won't remember to be intelligent emotionally. Reason, because there is something that is dragging you. There's something that is pulling you in a bid to meet the need. You won't remember who you are, because there is a hunger for affirmation. There's a hunger to be praised. And there's also a hunger to be heard. If you put these three together, you don't know that this is what you need. It will cause tension. It can even cause divorce in marriage. One has to be careful. So I've talked about your emotional need. I've talked about your physical need. So we're going to, as part of the physical need, the first part of physical need, the need to be safe. The second part of the physical need, that desire 5, is the need to be touched. All of us have a deep desire, a deep need to be touched skin to skin. Every parent, parents must understand that when people are touched skin to skin, it releases some kind of chemicals in their brain that has to do with warmth and a sense of being, a sense of well-being. So people need you need to hug your children several times a day to fulfill this hunger to be touched. A research was done about children in a neonatal unit, and they said, we are going to touch them, we're going to remove our gloves and touch them. We won't bother about infection. We let antibiotics handle that. They discovered that those children who were touched skin to skin, who were touched skin to skin, were able to thrive better than the other ones. And what is the false substitute for being touched? That's where you have sexual sin. Because you are longing for a touch. Because you are longing for a touch and you didn't get it. So anything and anyhow that you are touched, you accept it. Reason, you are actually looking for a touch. You find that sometimes it results to one night stand. You find out that you have one night stand, people who go into one night stand, they are trying to meet a hunger, the need to be touched. You find out that you have strip joints, massage parlors. All you are looking for is that you're looking for a touch. So it's important that we teach you today. The solution to this is to get people to touch each other in non-sexual ways. Couples need, they have not they've not made love for months, for sometimes years. So we're going to teach them, we need to teach them to start learning to touch each other in non-sexual ways. With that, you are meeting the need to be touched, and you won't use false substitutes like any kind of sexual touch and any kind of massage parlor, stripped joints, and all of that to get to meet the need. As we begin to round off this part, I'm going to come back. I'm not rounding up, but I'm going to come back. But as we begin to zero it around here, remember that for every deep hunger in your heart, there is also a deep satisfaction and fulfillment. Don't use false substitutes. They destroy society. They make life miserable. So I'm going to see you after this time out.
Our nation and the nations of the earth are crying out for global transformation, a land filled with the knowledge of the glory of God as the water covers the sea. The land is crying out for great destinies to be released and the strong man over our land dislodged. One of the tools we have been instructed to use for this global
your home person, the person has to, have some kind of luxurious something. The person will not mind using the state allocation, or even the taxes that be derived from the state to meet that need. It is meeting a very legitimate need in an illegitimate way that has left society the way it is. I, I was checking out something in the Bible, and I realized that in the life of Solomon, he met a need. There was a deep need inside him. That need was met in an illegitimate way. Look at David. There was a deep need inside David. It was met in an illegitimate way. The same thing with Samson. There was a deep need inside him that was met in an illegitimate way. May you not meet a legitimate need in an illegitimate way. So let's look at the sexual desire. Is a legitimate need in life. Is the deep desire to be passionately the desire to be passionately desired. You long to be the only one in your spouse's life. That is legitimate. God put it in your heart that whoever you become one flesh with, you want to be the only one in that person's life. You want to be the one that they passionately long for. You want to be the one they desire physically, emotionally, spiritually, in every way. It's God that put it there. You want to be the one that will put the smile on their faces. However, when this need is not properly met, it will be misused. It will be met in a dangerous form. That's what brings sexual affairs. That's what gets people to go into extramarital relationships. Then you find out that some people are into romance novels, soap operas, and other entertainment. They are hooked to it because they are trying to, fantasize and create an answer to the problem that they are going through. And what is our help? What's our solution for these people? Please, we're going to help couples to focus their attention on each other. Let me take this opportunity and speak to couples. You see, there are no two relationships that are the same. No two marriages answer to the same thing the same way. You cannot run your home the way Adesua or Etiosa is running his home. You will not be able to do that. It will spoil so many things. Sometimes when there is argument, when there is confusion, when there is conflict, sometimes people use active listening to diffuse that kind of thing. For some others, it does not work. There is a lot of negativity being blown, and the people tear themselves apart. My little counsel in this is getting couples to focus on each other. Listen to me, my friends. To the making of women, there's no end. To the making of men, there's no end. Before, they used to say it's only men that have affairs. But these days, many women are involved in the marketplace and working in the corporate organization, working in the marketplace. So there's also been a skyrocketing of sexual infidelity amongst women. What is the solution? We must learn to focus on one and each other. Let's knock off the negativity. Let's reduce the negativity, the negative things you say, the criticism. Then you wall yourself away from the person, and the person is all alone. You're no longer a part of the person's life. We can walk through these things if all of us give ourselves to it. Let's go to the last one. The last one is spiritual desire. The desire to be included, the desire to belong, the desire to know that you have fellowship with God, you also have fellowship with other people. Not just in one flesh union with your spouse, you also belong to others. In every place we have been longing for, sometimes you come up to a place you have been longing for someone to walk up to you and have fellowship. Is a legitimate human desire. And how do people meet this desire in a very wrong way? One, criticizing other people. It's very easy to see what the other person is not doing well. It's very easy to criticize. It's very easy to point out fingers. I've realized that even in football, it is those of us who are at the bench watching the football that know how a player should be played. Oh, you didn't play, but we can sit in the comfort of our rooms or sit at the bench and begin to throw stones on this person that the person did not do it well. Listen. When you criticize people with spiritual needs. Having said all of this, let me begin to bring a conclusion to the things that we have been talking about. When God created you, He gave you very strong desires. And the very first way He wants this desire to be met is through Him. And if He is not in the center of the relationship, it will look like things that fell apart, that center cannot hold. It will look at where mere anarchy has hit upon the ground. It's good for us to end well. In everything we start.
To be strong when the heart aches and there is no hope in sight. When holding back tears no longer helps. When the road is rough and it weighs you down. How do we stay strong? Stay strong in community because there is a better life in leading others. Though our lives may not be perfect and we can't promise you there will be days without the dark clouds, but we can promise to be there when it rains and when it hurts. We will be there with you when all seems bleak. We will guide you to wholeness. We are living your dreams.
Good evening from Nigeria. Welcome everyone and shalom. So good to have you again today on our 30 minutes broadcast on soul care or emotional healing. We just begin by asking you, how are you? So we're just going to welcome everyone that is with us here. Multi Derek, welcome. Ehije, welcome. Melvina, welcome. Faith, Mato Charity, welcome. House of Flourish. Imani, I can see you. Maranatha, you're welcome. Welcome, Julius. Welcome, Odua. Welcome, Daniel. Patience. Welcome, everyone. It's going to be a very, very wonderful time for us. We just want to get our friends ready, all our friends on YouTube, all our friends on Instagram, all our friends on Facebook. I'm sure by next week we will be able to have our friends have an audio channel for those of us who might prefer audio. You're welcome. We we are beginning very shortly. I want to ask you, how are you? How are you? We just want to chat. So if you give me a little bit of time, just a little time to welcome Gazi, I can see you. Okay, welcome, Mercy, welcome. Just a little bit of chat. Let's chat. Let's chat. I'm not the one that will be talking most times. Let's just have a chat. How are you? This is because the routine answer for how are you is I am fine. People are saying I am fine, yet there is so much brooding on the inside that we're not talking about. We're not some days, and it's so it's almost becoming difficult to be yourself and truly be honest in today's world. So, how do we go about this? I just want to use the opportunity to invite our friends, all our friends from all over the world you're joining us from. It will be get to meet you today. So we will just begin. People are looking for someone to talk to. As you see cancer in your life and for things around you, do you realize that you can come from a very great family and still have your heart wounded and locked up from hurtful life experiences? I used to think that having come from a very great family, or you came from a family where there is wealth, where there is where maybe your parents are religious leaders, or I don't just want to say pastors, you think that you might not be wounded and locked down from hurtful life experiences. That's just life. Hurt happens at all levels. This program, we're saying, please don't take matters into your own hands. You are not God. You did not create yourself. He's the one that knows the best way to bring you fully alive. Discussing today. Let's go straight to the conversation, and then we'll network. We just pray the hand of the Lord over the network for this 30 minutes. We pray that the network will coordination and the precious name of Jesus, in Jesus' lives. Things are good on the inside. We feel the way we do. And we're having a network challenge, but it's fine. If you have a challenge with the Facebook or YouTube, that's why we're streaming on multiple channels so that you can join us on anyone. I want you to listen to this conversation, and then we'll open up the chat. Many times in our lives, things are going on deep on the inside. We do not understand why we feel the way we do. We do not understand. And sometimes husbands turn to each another for love, for comfort, only for them to realize that the person that you're turning to for love and comfort is also in pain. So when you turn to them for love and comfort, they cannot care for you because both of them are hurting. And when people are hurting, they focus on their individual pain. They cannot care about one another. Someone asked me yesterday, how do you know that you're in pain, or how do you know that you're hurting? And I think we should share that, because sometimes people are hurting. It has happened over time, especially when it is a developmental issue that is that's gone over days, years, months. Then it has turned into your personality. You can't differentiate it from your normal. That I'm talking in a situation of husband and wives. You realize that you begin to shoot lies into your mind. The purpose of the lie is to kill, to destroy you personally. Marriages have been destroyed on these lies. The enemy has nothing else to offer except lies. And people are wounded and hurt by lies. Most times it's not what happened that hurt you. It is your experience of what happened, how you accepted or how you believed what happened. If you remember very well your grandparents, when the enemy came to tell them that God lied to them and they should take matters into their own hands. That's always what happens. When there are lies hidden on the inside, you hold on to those lies as if you're holding on to life. And if you don't release them lies, it becomes a part of your normal reasoning, normal operation. You will begin to think that it is normal, yet it's not normal. So one of the way the enemy works to destroy. Human beings will always be human beings. Events will happen, circumstances will change. But one bitterness is he will push in narratives that are resolved. It is like a contagious disease that has a contaminating and 15. I love this scripture so much. It says, looking diligently, lest anyone fall short of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up cause trouble. And I was sharing this at Firm Foundation when I was discussing trauma. That message is on YouTube. I was talking about trauma. When there is any root of bitterness, I didn't say bitterness, there are two different things. Circumstances that will push in the narrative of bitterness, the behavior of others that will push in bitterness. What happens is that it will cause trouble in you. We have had cases where during emotional healing, where you discover that the person comes up with a very terminal sickness, and when you sit down with the person, you realize that there have been years of bitterness, unresolved bitterness, and sometimes they don't even know that they are bitter. All they are doing is that they are holding on to what someone did, what someone said, how the person said it. The person has said this 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. The person has walked away, but you're still holding on to what the person has said. So it brings a lot of trouble. Ulcer, cancer, I can go on and on and on. And what happens is that it doesn't just spoil your life, it will also spoil other people's lives. So when people have been hurt, you know the people who hurt you most, the people who are closest to you. I can't hurt you if I'm not close to you. If you look at the concept of the teeth and the tongue, the only reason why the teeth can bite the tongue is because they are close. It is the people who are closest to you that will bring you, that will cause you pain. Sometimes they do it intentionally. Some other times, it is their own brokenness that is rubbing off on you. So, our interpretation of the situation is always what causes pain. How do you deal with your pain? You deal with your woundedness through forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean that what the person has done is right. Forgiveness does not mean that the person will not suffer the consequences of his action. Forgiveness does not mean that you're trying to support the person. Forgiveness means that the emotional pain that has come from what you have done to me, today I make a choice. I make a choice to pay for the consequences of that emotional pain by letting go. Listen, emotional pain is so terrible. And the reason people don't look into emotional pain is it's not a visible thing. It's not something visible that you can touch and tell someone sorry. If someone is going through emotional pain, you can even be laughing at the person. Imagine someone who's going through the pain of divorce. You might not understand what the person is going through. The person who is going through the pain of trust, broken trust, you might not understand what the person is going through. Just imagine that you have been saving money, you and your spouse, but both of you have been saving money, that you want to use this money to buy a house, and halfway through, the couple just your spouse just takes the money and goes to use it to play bets and lost the entire money. Most times when you talk about emotional pain, people think that cheating has to do when the person has moral failure. It's much more than that. What we agreed to do, you refuse to do it. Or just imagine that two of you are driving and your spouse or your husband or your wife start driving in such a way that looks as if that you're about to have an accident. That scare can be very painful. And the way you turn around to tell the person, the way you're driving is scary. The person says, I know what I'm doing. So there are different levels of emotional pain. But the bottom line is that emotional pain can be very, very devastating. It can be very painful to have your heart broken by someone you trust so much. Not just in a romantic relationship, even in business. That two of us got together and started a partnership, and halfway through you just took the money and ran away. Or where all of us, there's something we call ususu. What do you call that? In my place, there's this has to do, I think, thrift or thereabout. Thrift. We gather together. All of us are trusted friends. We gather together. We're gathering money to use to do something, and then someone takes the money and runs away. It can be very painful and very disappointing. But when these things happen, the enemy will push you into bitterness. I want to plead with you that it is not the way to go. Deal with your woundedness through forgiveness. Relationships are transformed when hearts are healed. When your heart is not healed, you get into a relationship. You say, let's continue. It causes more pain. Every Thursday, that is the 5th day of the week, we have inner healing, emotional healing, and soul care sections. And one of the things that we deal with is also deal with where trust has been broken. And let's take a case study. Someone's trust has been broken in a relationship, and you tell the person, okay, why don't you do date nights so that we can get the relationship working? Why don't you let's have a candle dinner, let's buy the person a gift. It doesn't solve such problems. You cannot see, there is a difference between when your relationship has common code, when there's just odd common code, and when it has lung cancer. They are two different things. You cannot use the medical procedure for lung cancer to treat common cold. Some of the things you're calling date night is that the relationship trust has been broken here. There has to be a repair before we go forward to say, okay, let's have all the things that let's light up our marriages. That's what I mean by relationships are transformed when hearts are healed. When trust has been broken, it is important that the people seek repair. And repair begins by owning. No, maybe we'll deal with that in full. But I'm just looking at the aspect that has to do, because I'm talking very shortly. I'm just going to say relationships are transformed when hearts are healed. Actually, I call it then people can begin to care for one another again. I will explain what I did. Can I get 3 bottles? I will explain what I said this last week. I want to say it again this week. When relationships are transformed, sin is dealt with. That's the only time people will begin to care for one another again. If hearts are not healed, relationship can be transformed. If something has happened that injured the relationship and there was never a proper repair, whether it's a romantic relationship or any other relationship, if we do not repair the relationship, the relationship cannot be transformed. And the people I feel most for are your children in this relationship, because when 2 elephants fight, it's the ground that suffers. You cannot care for one another when your heart is broken. You cannot focus on one another's need for love and acceptance when your heart is broken. When it has to do with love, love will always choose the best. Anybody you love, what you try to do for the person is that you make the best decision for this person. But when hearts are broken, remember I played a scenario last week. I'm going to play that again today. This is relationship. This is relationship, any kind of relationship. When the relationship is broken, there are 2 things to deal with. Number 1, the person that broke the relationship must be out to say, I am sorry. Please confess what you did to the person. And you that is being confessed to, will you be matured enough that we can still repair and redeem this relationship? Will you be matured enough to do that? The problem is that the person you are confessing to, the previous relationship the person had before he came into his relationship, the person never dealt with his or her junks. He just carries the thing straight into a relationship. And then when something happens, it reopens an old wound. So the person that hurt someone must own up to what you did. Not only will you own up to what you did, and don't force the other person to forgive you. Don't say, do you want me to kill myself? Do you want me to die? Do you want me to cut my head and give to you? No, that is not how to seek repair when trusts have been broken. And you don't say, I have thrown forgiveness at you. If you like, take forgiveness. If you don't like, don't take forgiveness. That is your business. It never augurs well. Look at our society. Our society is like this because the family unit is the way it is. Love chooses the highest good for the object of his love. 3 people. So this person says, I am sorry. The person they said, I am sorry to, please, would you be willing to accept this I'm sorry? Or do you want to drag it until the other person commits suicide? It's up to you. I want to hear from you. May I say to you that many of us think that because you're a believer, you don't have hidden wounds in your heart that cause reactions that you don't understand. It's not true. There are many of us who are believers who still carry very hidden woundedness in their hearts. There are many of us who are believers who have never dealt with the wounds in their heart. Symptoms: you are not able to connect in your heart with other people as God intended you to. you actually become a shadow of yourself, even though it looks as if you are the person. Sometimes when we get to inner healing section, we realize that people become other people in the midst of their pain. They become who they are not in the midst of their pain. What should you do? You need to learn to deal with those deep, very deep places that cause you to trigger and to shut down. The easiest way to deal with it is to release forgiveness. When we say forgiveness, it's not easy, but you cannot do it by yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, this is as much as I can take. Let's open up the chat. Someone said House of Cannabis. Thank you, House of Cannabis. He said, okay, they said, what if the person does not want to let it go, even after you have apologized and tried to reconcile at multiple intervals? Thank you so much, House of Cannabis. First of all, you have done your part. Your part is to sincerely seek for apology from your heart. And you're not going to force the person to accept the forgiveness. And don't also begin to cause more pain. Leave the person and pray for the person. Don't think it's your right for you to be forgiven. In as much as the Bible says you should forgive someone, it's not your right. Keep pushing. If it's a relationship that is important to you, keep pushing for to receive answers. And if it is possible, if there are people, if there is anybody this person respects and love, you can bring the person into the situation. Of course, many of you say, I don't want third party. I don't want third party. Meanwhile, you have never been in any, this is your first marriage. If it's not your first marriage, this is, they say, I don't want to. So people shoot themselves very badly when they make this kind of decisions. So there is a second question from Adesua Mona Lisa Osamere. How do we forgive those that do not believe they have hurt us? Thank you so much. That's one of the best questions I have heard very recently. Now, forgiveness is not for you. It's not for the person, sorry. Forgiveness is for you. The person that needs, because forgiveness is like someone who is trapped in a cage. The moment you forgive the person, a heavy load is lifted from your head. Sometimes in therapy section, you get to a time of forgiveness, the person's heart is so heavy, as if the person is carrying the heavy iron. And you find out that the moment the person forgives, like the one that happened today, the moment the person forgave, we realize that the pain upon the shoulder for which the person couldn't turn, we didn't even know that the pain had gone. The person was one that shouted, hey, the pain upon my shoulders had gone. Forgiveness is not for you. It's not for the person. Forgiveness is for you, so that you can bounce back to who you're created to be, okay? So let's take from Instagram. Instagram says, how can I forgive someone that has repeatedly hurt me consciously? What of boundaries? Thank you so much, fashion_emporium1. Thank you so much for that beautiful question. Let's quickly pick it up. Now, forgiveness does not mean that what the person has done is right. Forgiveness does not mean you're not going to put up boundaries. Now, look at what happens with forgiveness. Okay, since we are throwing it to forgiveness. Forgiveness means that from what you have done, it means I cannot trust your actions. I cannot trust your actions. That someone said I'm sorry does not mean the person has changed. It's important we separate the two. Someone can say sorry for different motives. Someone can say sorry, person does not really mean sorry. Someone can say sorry because person wants to manipulate you, all of that. So what you do for someone who has done something like this is to guide your heart and put healthy boundary. There is unhealthy boundary. You find out that you say that you're putting boundary, it is total malice. You won't even talk to the person again. In fact, the person, you declare the person an enemy. That's not what we're talking about. What you're talking about is that if you gave this person 10 yards, you now know that the person does not have the maturity for 10 yards. You need to reduce it to maybe 3 yards. You still talk to the person. If the person has problems, that is what you can do, then you can do that. But however, it's also the extent of the boundary that determines how much answer you can give to the person. Okay, there's a question there from Okoro, Mrs. Okoro. It said, how do I get the person to understand how they hurt me when I'm being told to forgive like a Christian? Am I a sinner for wanting the person to acknowledge they hurt me? Thank you so much. Very fantastic question. All right. Now, forgiveness is not just for Christians or non-Christians. Forgiveness is the draw, so you're free to engage everything from their woundedness. I'm going to say that again. Some people are so unhealthy that they see everything, will never ever see that they have hurt you. In fact, you might even understand that there are some people who are going around life hurting everybody. They are in a codependent relationship. You have hurt me, I will hurt you. I went there, someone gave me this disease, I'm going to go around and spread this disease all over the world. So am I a sinner for wanting the person to acknowledge they hurt me? Sometimes, my dear, the person will not acknowledge. Just do your own part and leave the rest, because you need to be healthy to move through the world. Let's go to the next question after Mrs. Okoro. There's a question before then. So he said, some people are so wounded. Okay. Any other question from is how do you know you have forgiven someone because you still feel the hurt? You see, it's not as if it's not forgive and forget. Forgive and forget is dangerous. It means that you have developed amnesia. I said that last week. If you can remember what the person did and you do not have that bitterness towards the person, then you know that you are forgiven. Now, in emotional healing, when you have been healed, when you have healed is healed, whole is whole. It means that you have, we call it reframing the events. You look at the same thing, but you see it from a different perspective. You're seeing this, and of course, you know that these things is not by your strength and your power. It's not by your strength. But if you are in a destructive, damaging relationship, you need to get out. Because there are three kinds of relationship. There is disappointing relationship. We'll talk about that next week. There is destructive relationship. All right. And then if you are in a destructive one, you need to jabber out of it. So that if you're in a relationship where someone is so destructive and so dysfunctional that the person's life is destroying your own life, you know that is unhealthy. Okay, someone says, what's the difference between forgiveness and restoration? Maybe we should talk about forgiveness in full next week. Whereas the Bible makes forgiveness mandatory, restoration isn't mandatory. I feel some folks ought to be kept at arm's length to avoid a reoccurrence. Yes, Mr. Ben, I stand with you that forgiveness is not is different for what we're talking about. Forgiveness means the malice and the hatred and the bitterness in my heart against you, I release it. But for you to walk up to me, for us to begin to share that level of intimacy and friendship needs trust. My trust has been broken. So the trust needs to be built back so that the person does not come back and do something worse than what the person has done. Any other question from there? We're running out of time. Okay. What do you do when you have actually forgiven someone, but then you tend to avoid anything who act like that person, or you sense the behavior of a person who hurt you in someone else? It's a very wonderful, fantastic question, Adeyemi. Very wonderful question. We're running out of time already. Oh, Lord, have mercy. So what do you do when you have actually forgiven someone, but then you tend to avoid anyone who act like that person? Okay, this is normal life. This is how life actually works for many people. But you see, that abuse does not stop the use. Abuse does not stop the use. I've seen occasions where someone has a father injury, father wound, or a mother wound. He tends to treat everybody that looks like that person. I remember a particular case that we handled many years ago. This woman was injured by a man with mustache. The man had a lot of beards and mustache, and when they were going to take this woman through an emotional healing program, the person that sat down for this emotional healing was a man with mustache. The entire thing went through the woman's head again. She started screaming, and the trauma came back. So you see, so what we are saying, that in this place you have not, the issue has not been completely resolved. Because if you sense the behavior and the person who hurt you in someone else, it's not supposed to produce a trigger. It's supposed to produce wisdom. Wisdom is profitable to direct. You are not reacting in a way that you are now mysterious to yourself. Everybody is shocked at your reaction. It just gives you wisdom to know what to do when you find such a person in another situation, all right? How do you deal with a partner in a relationship that feels entitled to receiving I'm sorry at every time there is a quarrel, even when the person is at fault? I'm sorry, you are in a relationship with a child. You're in a relationship with someone who is that has a developmental problem. You're in a relationship with someone who is a bit, forgive me for want of better words, dysfunctional. Your relationship, because if you do something wrong and you can't see that you have done something wrong, you can't own up to it, you can't say I am sorry, it means it's very difficult to be in a relationship with you. How do you deal with the person? If it's a relationship that you find this, it's very toxic, what do you want to do? You know, sometimes people come for counseling, they have the answer themselves, but they want you to provide the answer for them. For me, we must talk about, listen, in relationship we must talk about everything. We need to talk this thing. Let's put it on the table and talk about it. Let there be no big elephant in the room. We're going around the big elephant. Nobody is talking about it. We need to talk about this. I realize that in this relationship, when you are at fault, I say sorry. When I'm at fault, I say sorry. I'm being drained in this relationship. Let's talk about this. Put it on the table and let us address it. Then Instagram is asking, okay, how long can you own up to a wrong you didn't do? Just for peace to reign in your extended family. I like that. Okay, I like that. I like that. So, which means many of us are avoiding conflict. Listen, conflict is part of relationship. I can work with conflict. Conflict is part of relationship. So if you don't have that conflict, the day conflict will happen, it will shock you. It will shock you. But let's not have how may I put it? Let's not have a destructive conflict. Conflict is the way this thing happened. Listen, if you keep hiding what you truly want in a relationship, if you keep hiding your needs, in the sense that if you really bring out your need, the person will jabber out of the relationship, and you keep hiding, listen to one day you will explode in such a way that everybody will be shocked. Put it on the table. Let's talk about it. Like I tell my children, that sometimes when they behave as I say, this your behavior is bad. Wow, it's time up already, my friends. This is as much as we can take. Maybe we should come. There are two things on my mind, my brothers and my sisters, my friends. What should you do when trust is broken? That's one. Two, how do we treat forgiveness? Which of them do you want me to talk about? Go to the comment section and let me hear what you think. What should you do when trust is broken? Two, let us treat this forgiveness matter. Which of them are you talking about? Are you on? Thank you so much. We are already out of time. We are already out of time. You can put that on the comment section. You can put it on the comment section. Now, outside here, you can catch up on our Telegram link. They're going to post it now. Outside here, You would like, if you want to have a full conversation on integrated healing or soul care, you can catch us every fifth day of the week, otherwise known as Thursday in my country. Okay, you can catch us on that. We have Zoom sections, we have online sections and on-site sections. Still outside that, we have an inner healing program that is purely for women, just for women. It's a conclave. They call it Kabak conclave. We have a community. We have a cohort that started last year. The second cohort is about to start, and then we have our workshop. We have different products on inner healing, and they are putting together for you. They are putting for you together different aspects that will help you. We want you to be emotionally healthy, my friends. Oh my God, I'm telling you. See, there are some things you are finishing us. You are finishing us because you're not emotionally healthy. Emotion is just one aspect of the soul. You are not, your soul is not well cared for. That's another way of putting it. Mental health is just one aspect of the soul. Mental health just have to do with the mind, but there is mind, will, and emotion, which is complete soul. Your soul, mind, will, and emotion. So at every point in time, they are supposed to be integrated together. You can listen to my message on trauma on my YouTube channel or on Femme Foundation YouTube channel. Thank you so much. If you're writing, tell us what you want us to talk about. When trust is broken, what should I do? How do I go about? What is the road to repair when trust is broken? And tell us about forgiveness. And from all of us at Living Your Dreams Initiative, thank you so much for being a part of us. We believe that once the family unit is taken care of, listen, Papa, Mama, if you're healthy, it will translate on your children. If you're unhealthy, it will translate on your children. So make a choice. Thank you. And from all of us at Living Your Dreams Initiative, it is always shalom. And then we also look at maybe 3 desires that people crave for and are thirsty for. Again, what are you really thirsty for? What is your deep desire? Let's begin from the deep desire number 1. The deep desire number 1 is emotional desire. And you have deep desire to